And that's a good point that you bring up because a lot of people in a lot of interviews say, I could have been in the car or I was supposed to be in the car. On a regular, uh, on a regular night when there was a caravan like that, if anybody were to be in the back seat of a car that Suge was driving and Tupac was in the passenger seat, who were the people that would normally be in the car? Just to clear that up for once and for all.
A bitch, or this Suge and 2Pac. Generally, they be in their own cars. That's one thing people generally like to do is drive their own cars. You very, very rarely saw, and I know it's a picture out there with Suge in the car with Tupac in his Rolls Royce. I've seen that picture before. But other than that picture, you won't find them in the cars together. And then the one where, of course, that night, and y'all done heard the reasons why Tupac jumped in the car with Suge at the last minute. If y'all listen to Frank interviews, um, but generally they rode their own cars because why? Why? Number one, they like showing off their cars. They worked and spent a lot of money on these cars, and image was everything to them. But the main reason is because they were 25 to 30 years old. And when you're that age, and single, what is more importantly than anything to you? Bitches. You pull bitches. And you make one of them get in the car and ride back to the hotel, to the house with you. And so that's generally why people wanted their own cars. And gang members and gangsters, why? Because they want to be able to get to their guns. Because every one of those niggas had a stash box in their car, except Tupac. Tupac didn't. But in all the Suge cars, there were stash boxes in them. So my point is, no one, to answer your question, other than themselves or maybe a homeboy, will be in the car with them. Definitely, definitely, definitely. I ain't never rode in a car with Suge Knight, other than a limo or something like that. But in one of his private cars, no, I can't say that. But it was very rare. It was very rare. And generally it was, you trail them, you ride behind them. And so the question is really answered by John, and I know where he's going, is to show you that security didn't ride with Tupac Suge ever in the cars, ever. They might have drove them late at night when those niggas been drinking a little bit too much. And that was mainly Pac, because Suge never really, I only seen that nigga drunk 2 times in my life. And that was generally because we was in the hotel, sitting out there in the restaurant, and him was playing around drinking. He very rarely got to the point where he wasn't able to drive. And Pac would do it because he would just be tired, wore out. The man very rarely slept. He was a workaholic. He always had something going on, especially the 11 months that I've known him. I can only talk about those 11 months. But he was a workaholic. So that's why, but no, these niggas was not like the artists of the day and all of them who just had security. They wasn't Beyonce and Michael Jackson and all of them where the security ran their lives. Might have should have been after your money back quarterback and all of that. But the 90s, it wasn't like that. You see what that special transportation will get you. You get too many people in your lives. Then you got ex-security guards and stuff like that telling your life stories because you had no privacy. And so they human too. They had their times where they needed to be alone or to sneak off somewhere, go from this spot to this spot. And so they always had an automobile where they can do things on their own. But they were still young. They were not the presidents of the United States. And people like y'all want to make them. Y'all want to build people up to be bigger than what they were and what they was. These niggas wanted to go and have these nice, beautiful. Why work so hard and have a 500 SL and all of that if you had to have security driving you around in it? That's not how they think, y'all. Come on, be realistic. Everybody ain't like how Kobe Bryant was after basketball games. You know, I'm sure Kobe Bryant, these people used to have to close down Disneyland and stuff like that and book it where they can go and these young gangster rappers wasn't doing it like that. Where they didn't want to be like that. They want to be touched. They want to be touchable. They want to interact with their people. Y'all keep wanting to make niggas to be hoes and bitches because that's how y'all would be if y'all was in that situation. The niggas wasn't thinking like that in the 90s. And niggas wasn't on no superstar status and billionaire status like these dudes are today. Niggas was just really millionaires. We living in a different time period for money. Where all these guys flying around on G5s and stuff like that. Niggas was getting on commercial planes in the 90s. The NBA teams, Magic Johnson, all of them, private planes in their heydays. Stop building people up. Know your time periods. That's all I can ask. Y'all need to stop making comments of how you will live and do things in 2023 versus how people were living and doing things in the mid-90s.